This is the work of Lon D, I know it. As I was saying, it just wouldn't be one of my streams without catastrophic hardware failure. And apparently I was cut off in the middle of the word catastrophic when the open broadcast software crashed entirely. That's hilarious. No, make it bigger. Yeah, that's good. Okay, I assume we're back in now. No, I'm not going to go into the light. It's not going to end like this. Man. Okay, so the emulator that they use for the Sega Smash Pack is so bad that it wrecked the stream entirely. Blindfolded Let's Plays are cool. Alright, we're good now. Let's, tempt fate by starting this again. I had to reset the sound, so I assume that the levels are still good. By the way, you might also notice that Sonic is actually, like, over top of his name in the title screen because the layers aren't right on the emulator. Somebody said it's looking bad, or like the... Are things any better now? And yes, you can suggest a game to play, although I can't guarantee I'll have it. Still better than at games. You know, I would actually disagree. This is worse than at games. Video's quite a bit jerky, huh? You know, as far as the at-games consoles goes, it says a lot about, like, how much you can forget in 20 years, because I know, like, you read the Amazon reviews for the at-games Genesis, which is, if you don't know, it's like a hardware clone of the Genesis made by a third-party company that Sega licenses to. And, like, the emulation is fine for the most part, except the sound emulation is always really, really bad. But you always get people, like, reviewing it who you know, haven't played a Genesis in 20 years, who are like, oh, just like I remember it. Oh, but it's not like how you remember it. So, oh, somebody wants to know how Streets of Rage 2 sounds. That's a trip. Let's do that one. I always liked the music that plays on the menu screen anyway. That's a plus. Alright, Streets of Rage 2, here we go. Still better than the GBA port. Oh, miles better than that. At least it plays right. And yeah, it does, like, the sound effect of Sonic taking a hit or of, like, picking up the ring sounds a lot like the Game Gear. Which I always wondered, like, oh, is that intentional? Are they trying to reference the Game Gear? No, they weren't. Ah, yes, Streets of Rage 2. One of the great Sega soundtracks. Completely and utterly butchered. Somebody's like, is the sound working for you guys? If it is, I'm sorry. Oh man. There's this cartoony, like, boing sound effect when you jump. That's not right. Somebody said, why do you play this collection? I put this one in just because, like, I mentioned in the Dreamcast episode the emulation left a lot to be desired, and I wanted to show what I meant by that. I mean, there are other problems, but the primary thing is the sound emulation. I don't know, it seems to me that the Dreamcast, or rather the Genesis sound chip must be, like, pretty difficult to emulate because, yeah, they're still getting it wrong to this day. Oh, Streets of Rage 2 has a great soundtrack, but this isn't it. Do the grand upper. I know what you're talking about, but I always forget how to do that, which sucks. I was just playing this game on the excellent 3DS port the other day, and I figured it out there. I've been trying to figure it out. There it is. Fantastic. That move is so freaking overpowered. I know the sound emulation sucks, but I'm still having a great time with this game. Something sure got smashed in this pack. Sega Smash Pack, the real reason the Dreamcast failed. Yeah, this game actually came out on January 31st, 2001. Not Streets of Rage, the Sega Smash Pack. It came out the same day that Sega announced they were leaving the hardware business, so in a matter of speaking, you may be right. And once again, I know I'm kind of sucking at this game, but it's because I keep looking away to look at the chat. Anyway, I think somebody said that they had a suggestion for a game for me to play. So, yeah, what was that? Like, I like, panned the frame of my Dreamcast collection in the episode. So, what would you guys like to see next? And a couple of people, like, I saw somebody asking about Metroid or asking about Star Fox. Like, I kind of want to just keep this one. It's not that I, like, ask me again in a different context, but I kind of want to keep, like, the topic of conversation here focused on, like, the Dreamcast and the episode and, you know, topics related to that. So, I don't know. Send me a message on Twitter or something and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about anything else. Yeah, Virtua Cop 2 is just fine. But that's because it's not, like, Virtua Cop 2 is a Saturn game that's ported to the Dreamcast here. It's not using the horrible Dreamcast emulator. The horrible Genesis emulator, that is. I don't think the Dreamcast needs to emulate itself. Oh, I am going to play PSO, don't you worry. A lot of people are saying Crazy Taxi, and yeah, I'm always up for that. Although, will the music get me, like, copyright stricken from YouTube? That would be a concern. But hey, let's chance it anyway. What's the worst that could happen? Alright, you guys better hurry and go ahead and, like, download all your favorite Geek Critique episodes because they're not going to be there much longer. Somebody's saying they're looking forward to the Shadow the Hedgehog review, and yeah, that's something I wanted to talk about. I've gotten a lot of comments, you know, at the end of the episode, I talk about what the next season's going to be. Shadow the Hedgehog isn't in there because it's not a mainline Sonic title, and I typically only wanted to do, like, super in-depth episodes on the mainline series. But, like, I think that, you know, a lot of people are making some really good points suggesting it and saying that it does, like, it is a very, like, logical follow-up to Sonic Adventure 2 especially. So I'm thinking about making it the bonus episode of the season, which is the same way that AM2R was the bonus for the Metroid season, and Other M was the bonus of the Prime season, or the Retro Studio season. Gotta use my proper terminology. But yeah, so I think I will do Shadow the Hedgehog, which is actually going to be really fun for me because I never actually beat it.
Go ahead and pick a car and driver. BD Joe. Yeah, we gonna have some fun.
Oh, I'm looking forward to the Sonic Heroes episode 2. That's that one's gonna be something. All right, assuming I haven't been pulled off YouTube already, Crazy Taxi, man, what a great freaking game. Although not a game that's conducive to looking away and talking to the chat. I didn't think of that one. Sonic Schoolhouse video win. Ah, yes, the one of the most critical games in the mainline Sonic series, Sonic Schoolhouse. Why did I think playing Crazy Taxi was a good idea? I can't play this game and look at the chat. I didn't think about this one. Like, Sonic Adventure is all muscle memory. I can kind of do that and look away from it. Oh, that's good. That was a nice bonus. Use that taxi to find the damn 4th Chaos Emerald. Oh yeah, Shadow is gonna be fun. Yeah, this cannot go on long. I can't look away. Somebody said this version is better than the Steam version. Yeah, absolutely. You know, that's actually... I've gotten some comments on the episode talking about, well, I never cared about getting a Dreamcast because all of its best games were ported to other systems anyway. And like, I can see the merit to that. But the thing is, a lot of those ports weren't exactly great. And of course, the one that comes to my mind first is Sonic Adventure. Like, the DX port. There's this wonderful blog out there that goes into, like, painstaking detail about all the things that were lost in the DX port of Sonic Adventure. But yeah, also Crazy Taxi. Crazy Taxi, like, the controls were worse. It didn't have the same music. It lost all of, like, the brand deals where, like, you know, you take him to KFC, you take it... And I guess it does feel... Like, when Crazy Taxi first came out on Steam, I was very, very hyped about it. Because, you know, just having a version of the game that doesn't, like, have the pop-in, or that, you know, I could run at a high resolution. That was cool, but I ended up not playing it much just because between the music and the controls, it felt like a very different game. Like, it really wasn't the same experience as playing it on the Dreamcast. And for that matter, I mean, it's like Shenmue only just, like, the port for that was only just announced. And by the way, that's going to be really, really fun. Although I feel like inevitably when the Shenmue 1 and 2 port comes out, there's going to be a lot of people who play it and be like, and just don't get it. Like, just, they play it and they're like, this is what all the fuss was about. So that's going to be entertaining. Because it really is something that, like, was incredibly impressive for the time. Technically impressive for the time. But I think a lot of gamers without context might look at now and just wonder why, like, why this game, why a sequel to this game got so much on Kickstarter. There's so much taxi clinking that I don't think they'll be able to pick up the music. Oh, good. A similar case where a port looks better but plays worse is the port of Nights into Dreams. I guess I was talking about the Dreamcast, like, controller a little while ago. Like, I really like it, but I think I always liked the Saturn 6 button pad better, which was, like, very much what the Dreamcast controller was based on. The Saturn 6 button pad had this really, really, like, I mean, I guess all, like, analog sticks were unique at the time because they were so new, but it has a very, like, unique analog stick. It has, of course, more buttons because it has the Saturn control pad layout. doing this. Not that I'm done, by the way. I still want to hop on PSO and see if I can find anybody to play with. But I would definitely like to go back to some of my earlier episodes and do sort of similar, like, post, because it's been so long, episode streams for them. But yeah, just something where, like, I watch talk about the production of the episode itself, you know, watch it beforehand, go back to my script and get some cool anecdotes about it, and then play the game in question while taking some questions about it. It's been a good time, and I'm glad I finally got around to trying one of these. It's tough. It's one of those situations where I feel like Jet Set Radio Future is probably the better game, but Jet Set Radio is the one that I've got more affection for. So, I know that's a bit of a non-answer, but that's how I feel about it. Jet Set Radio actually just very recently, just a couple of weeks ago, had its online functionality restored via the DreamPie. So you can once again get on the website again and, like, I think you can, like, share. The game had this function where, like, you could design your own graffiti tags and then share them online with people. And I never got to try that, like, when it was actually available, but I think they've restored that now. And I really hope, one thing I'd really like to see them do is get, like, Shenmue's online functionality going again. Like, you can connect to the online services, but there's a lot that's, like, missing. But I think that would be a really, really, like, there was a lot to that. There was a lot of text, especially, and I think that may be difficult. Or it may just be something that's lost to time. I'm not sure. Because a lot of those details with Shenmue were, like, stuff that you had to go on, that you had to go put in the Shenmue passport and, like, read up on all the behind-the-scenes detail. So when the servers went off, that was all gone. Okay, I'm gonna stop with Crazy Taxi now because I can't play it and look at the chat at the same time. No, Jet Set Radio didn't have online multiplayer. It just had, like, online functions. It had stuff that you could do online, but I think I explained that. Is there a really point of getting a Dreamcast if all the games I want I can now get on other systems? No, not really. I mean, it's not something that I can really tell that, like, I would always want to have a Dreamcast, like the real hardware and whatever. Like, normally I love emulation. Like, I think emulation is great, especially for preservation or for making games, like, more contemporary. You know, I mean, I played Donkey Kong Country Returns on an emulator. But with the Dreamcast just means a lot to me personally. But if all the games that you really want to play on it are on other systems, then, I mean, yeah, it's fine. Although, as I was talking about a while ago, a lot of the Dreamcast ports leave a lot to be desired and aren't really the same experiences, so I'd look into that. Sorry, guys, I would read the chat, but I'm too good at Crazy Taxi! Oh, come on, I'm not that great. But yeah, let's go ahead and get to PSO now. And if anybody, like, watching happens to have PSO, maybe we'll run into each other. Actually, before that, here's something interesting. Since I picked up the PSO disc, and I saw this. So at the end of the Dreamcast episode, if you watch the footage of from the beginning of Sonic Adventure 2, where Sonic, you know, jumps out of the helicopter, you might notice that he's conspicuously missing his soap shoes. And that's because of this. The original version of Phantasy Star Online came with a bonus disc called Sonic Adventure 2: The Trial. And, you know, this was about 6 months before Sonic Adventure 2 actually came out. So this is a this is a pretty early version of it. Even the logo's different. And yeah, the official servers for PSO went offline a long time ago, but you can still connect to fan-run servers. At this point in development, the script is different, and you're actually going to see cover your eyes if you're underage. There it is. There was a bad word in a Sonic game. I think in the final version that was changed to, what in the world? So this trial version came out before Sega secured the brand deal with Soap Shoes. So Sonic just has his regular his regular shoes at this point. And it looks to me like the video may still be a little choppy. Although, of course, it's going to be more noticeable in a 60 FPS game like this. And those of you familiar with this may notice something a little different about City Escape. Yeah! The song had no words yet. And also the advertisements, like that Phantasy Star Online ad right there, those were different. Here's something I talked about on Twitter a few days ago. Playing Sonic Adventure 2 is habit forming, don't turn off your DC. If you look at the bottom of that, I don't know if you guys can see that, but it says anti-XXXXXX2 association. And that's a pretty good shot at Sony, because the X's could be formed out to spell anti-Sony PS2 association. And when I was 13, I remember noticing that and being like, oh yeah, they got him! Freaking get him! One big difference that you just saw me fall prey to there. In the final version, you can somersault and then you jump out of it. If you hold forward on the control stick. In this version, you cannot do that. If you jump out of a somersault, you'll just jump backward like that. Which decreases the game's fluidity quite a bit. The first time I ever played this, I came down here and did that. Like, that's something that I'm definitely going to talk about in the episode on Sonic Adventure 2, but I don't mind giving you guys a little preview. Like, the way that this is designed right here, like, that line tells you to, like, gives you the indication that you need to come down here and turn right, and then you can't do it. I always thought that was kind of weird. But I don't want to say too much about Sonic Adventure 2. But as far as the trial goes, I just thought this would be interesting, because I know that, you know, if you had a GameCube, it's not like you could ever see this. Removed speedrun tech. Yeah, everybody just sing the words yourself. In Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, the sign that said playing Sonic Adventure 2 is habit forming, that was still there. But they removed the little text at the bottom calling out the PS2. And the whole design of the sign was different as well. Like, it had a GameCube. It had a cube on it. You know, I never noticed before, or I guess I haven't thought about it in a long time, but the Chow Garden key is still here. That's interesting, because I know the Chow Garden sure isn't. I think it's funny here, and I always thought it was kind of funny that, like, this was the only time that Sonic ever actually had soap shoes, and yet grinding rails has remained a mainstay in the series despite that. Like, there was some genuine speculation, like, when Sonic Heroes was on the verge of coming out, like, oh, what are they going to do about the soap shoes, though? And the answer was just, nothing. Just he can still grind, don't worry about it. And I don't think I'll go to some beta Chow Garden that I didn't know about. Terria! Yeah.
Too easy. 楽勝だぜ.
A realistic trial would be a 20-minute treasure hunting sequence. Oh, coming 2001. I mean, I was excited. I mean, a big reason, like, I thought the PSO sounded amazing anyway, but knowing this demo was here just pushed me over the edge. But okay, I am now going to get on PSO properly. The frame rate is stable for me. Let's see what I could try doing. But I do see it on the live window looking pretty jittery. I'm going to try decreasing the video bitrate, which is going to make it look worse, but will hopefully make it more stable. Let's see if that helps. Somebody asked, or Leo asked, what do you think about the Sonic Adventure 1 and Sonic Adventure 2 Chow Gardens, and which ones do you like more? I haven't watched it in a while, but I don't think I talked a whole lot about the Chow Gardens in my Sonic Adventure 1 episode, so that's definitely something that I want to address more in Sonic Adventure 2. I mean, it is like, it's my last opportunity to. But as far as that goes, I don't think I got nearly as invested in the Chow stuff in Sonic Adventure 2. I definitely played with it more in the first game. I think it was one of those things, like, that never would have existed if Sonic Adventure hadn't been as ambitious as it was. Like, the reason that was there was because of the VMU, and because Sonic Adventure was trying to show off all the cool features that the Dreamcast could do. But I think it's interesting in the way that it sort of incentivized repeat playthroughs. Because, like, a big part of the reason that I played Speed Highway so much was because I could run through there and get tons of green animals. So, that said, I'm not surprised that it hasn't, like, come back. Because it is so, like, it's so much a product of the, like, ridiculous ambition of the Dreamcast and of the Adventure era that, like, I can see why they wouldn't. I think it's the right move to focus on making a good Sonic game rather than trying to add all these accoutrements onto it. But I think it's interesting, and I think it's telling that there are so many people out there who just clamor for a return of it, who are anxiously awaiting, like, who are still begging for them to bring it back. Leo says, how can you still play PSO? Sega shut down the servers 10 years ago. You can play it. You can still play it, as I, like, talked about in the Dreamcast episode itself. You can still, like, I guess you don't need a Dream Pie technically, but there are still fan-run servers that have been developed for it. And what you saw a minute ago was I had to put in a disk to, like, patch the game to connect to those servers. Somebody says, how does the GameCube version of this title hold up? The GameCube version of this of PSO is yeah, you can still get online. Actually, I think you can still get online the same server if you have the equipment for it. But that's a little harder to come by. The GameCube version itself, though, is fan-freaking-tastic. PSO Episode 1 and 2, it contains all the content of this one, and then some. It contains, like, new playable classes you could make. new levels, albeit I never liked the new levels nearly as much as the first set of levels. But regardless, all of the same content that was in this one was also in the GameCube version. Plus, and this was so freaking cool, it had like split screen multiplayer for up to 4 players at once. So that meant even if you, like most people, didn't have a GameCube modem, at least you could still do multiplayer on it. You could not be connected to the server. Uh-oh. Okay, I'd say my Dream Pie needs to be reset. But that's pretty easy. Somebody asked my opinion on Skies of Arcadia. That was a game that I always wanted to get around to getting. But, you know, I could only get so many games, and like, I always heard the praise for it. I always wanted to try it, but I never got around to it. And, you know, nowadays, I know that it's a JRPG. I know that it has some awfully grindy sections. I doubt I would enjoy it, but I'd still be open to giving it a try. Alright, Dustin, sorry you gotta go, but it's been fun. If I were to play the PC version of PSO, could I play with people who are on the Dreamcast version? Yes, but not Blueburst. There's 2 versions of PSO on the PC. There was the port of this game that came out in 2001, and then there was a very, very, very expanded and updated version called Phantasy Star Online Blueburst, which was the final version of this original like style of game released. So yes, if you get the original 2001 PC port, you can play with Dreamcast players. Can you connect to Game Boy Advance? Not to the Dreamcast version, but to the GameCube version you could. And actually, that was really, really neat. I guess we'll just go with the default servers. That was really neat because I remember in the GameCube version there was a Nights into Dreams quest, where Knights themselves, Knights showed up and like went on a quest with you, and after you were finished with it, you could download this little like proof of concept style Knights mini game onto your Game Boy Advance and play it. And man, I love that. How can you dislike RPGs but enjoy PSO? Okay, like the scope of what an RPG is has changed quite a bit over time. Alright, the team name is going to be that. The password will be the word critique. I'm not expecting anybody to get on, but if you want to, that's the name and password. Also, I'm really not going to be able to do much by myself here, as low level as this character is. Anyway, okay, getting back to what I was saying about RPGs. What I specifically, like, the whole idea of what a role-playing game is has expanded so much. Like, Dragon Ball Xenoverse was a game that I really enjoyed, and that's a role-playing game. What I'm more specifically talking about is, like, your traditional JRPGs with, like, turn-based combat and menu systems and, like, equipping. I mean, I know this has a lot of elements of that, but it's, like, the combat in this game can, like, keep me invested despite that. Like, I found that as long as there's some sort of a thing that I can do to, like, time a button press or something, like in the Super Mario RPG and Paper Mario and Mario and Luigi series are great examples of that. If you've got a mechanic that lets me trick my brain into thinking that I'm doing something more than just selecting options from a menu, then I'll typically be able to stay invested a whole lot better. And it, like, when I talk about Skies of Arcadia, I assume that's what the combat is like. I assume that it's a turn-based battle system, but I don't actually know. The bulk of my familiarity with Skies of Arcadia comes from the Sonic and Sega All-Stars racing games, which are fantastic, by the way. Somebody asked about Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. I was never a Star Wars guy. I know that game got a lot of praise, but I was never too into Star Wars. Oh, yeah, somebody brings up Pokemon. Pokemon was always, for some reason, seemed to be an exception to that. To my whole rant about JRPGs, and yet Pokemon got away with it, and I think it'd be really interesting to, like, do... I don't think I would want to do all the Pokemon games because it would just take such a long time. Like, it would probably take me, like, 2 or 3 years to get through them all. But it'd be interesting to do a video sort of explaining what I think makes Pokemon different. So that might be a good, like, in-between seasons thing. The gameplay is paramount. Yeah, you know, I always, I think my Sonic the Hedgehog 2 episode was a really good, like, foundational basis for my entire channel. Just to, like, kick off right there, like, this is what I think, like, this is the game that I compare all video games to. This is what taught me what's supposed to be fun about video games. And most of the games that I found myself, like, getting really invested in and playing a lot of tend to fall somewhere along those lines. Serious question, which series do you prefer, Mario Kart or Sonic and Sega? I mean, as a series, Mario Kart, of course, has a lot more, like, history to it and a lot more meat to it. Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, Transformed in particular. Like, I kind of wish I'd been able to find a way to work that game into the Dreamcast episode a bit. Because what I love about that game is that it seems like it comes from some sort of an alternate dimension where the Dreamcast saved Sega. Where the Dreamcast became, like the thing I talk about in the episode where I talk about how all these, like, a lot of these characters could have become icons. It seems like it's a game that hails from an alternate universe where that actually happened. And I absolutely love it. Comparing Mario Kart 8 specifically to Sega All-Stars Racing Transformed, they're both fan-freaking-tastic games, but I think they do different things. Mario Kart 8's a really wonderful game, and I love it, and I played a ton of it. But I feel like Sega All-Stars Racing is a lot more of a balanced game with a higher skill ceiling, albeit that also means it has a higher learning curve. There's a lot of people that I've tried to show Sega All-Stars Racing Transformed to who just, like, who feel like they're being unfairly, like, hampered by the flying controls, for instance. Like, you have to... It's a lot more important in that game to know the track layout and to have a good handle on the characters and to like, get really, really good at the game. And that's the only way you'll have fun with it. Whereas with Mario Kart, even if you're not, like, that familiar with it, you're still gonna have a good time because you're gonna get the super powerful items and do the cool things. And so I think they're very different games, and it's despite the fact that they're in the same genre, they're attempting to achieve very different goals. Somebody says they've beaten DKC 1 and 2, and by the way, I guess at this point we might as well open up the floor to non-Dreamcasty questions. Let's see. Wi-Fi dead. Ooh, is everything okay? Alright, bye, Dr. Mad. Yeah, Cody says that Transform feels more like Diddy Kong Racing than Mario Kart. And that, I think, in the Diddy Kong Racing episode I did a few years ago, I brought that up specifically. That the different way that Diddy Kong Racing, like, was designed reminded me a whole lot of Sega All-Stars Racing. Do I prefer Metal Gear over Metroid? Oh man, that's a tough one. Like, I've been a Metal Gear fan for a lot longer, but if I... They're very equal in my mind. Like, I guess when you give me a question like that, I think to myself, if I could only play one or the other for the rest of my life, which would I choose? And that usually gives me an answer pretty easily, but with this one it's like, no, that doesn't help. King K says, how do you feel about a potential Star Fox racing game? Yeah, I heard about that. A lot of people were very, very, very upset that, like, that's what Retro's been working on all this time, is a Star Fox racing game? Speaking of Diddy Kong Racing, the potential of a Star Fox racing game feels like the closest thing that we could ever like legally get to a Diddy Kong Racing sequel from Nintendo, so I would be all for it. I have very serious doubts whether or not it's real. But if it is, then I will be one of the most excited people. Somebody said DKC 2 is the best game I've ever played. What is your favorite stage theme? I'm guessing that you mean, like, what's your favorite stage archetype and not, like, what's your favorite music. My favorite stage archetype is probably the roller coaster levels in DKC 2. I always have a thing for video game carnivals, it seems like. And casinos and things like that. Comparatively, PSO is a very good game to play while I while I look at the chat. He said, you got me interested in the Super Nintendo Donkey Kong Country series, by the way. That's good. Yeah, I always appreciate it when I, like, hear that something that I said or the way that I talked about something, like, gave somebody the incentive to check something out. That always makes me feel like I, like, articulated what's appealing about a series well. And I think that's also what made, like, the whole Metroid series so much fun for me, because that was a case where I was discovering what was great about a series myself as I went along. Oh, my favorite song in DKC 2 is Stickerbush Symphony. And I talked about all the reasons for that in the episode itself. Although that's a I feel like a lot of people say that, so as a follow-up, I would also say that, always really loved Mining Melancholy. Oh, I also saw somebody a while ago, I think I started to read their question actually, say that, like, they'd beaten DKC 1 and 2, and should they go on to 3? Yeah, go ahead and go on to 3. I mean, like, if you've beaten 1 and 2 and you enjoyed them, there's no reason not to check out 3 as well. And then somebody else, what reminded me of it was somebody else just asked, do you still hate DKC 3? I don't know if you, like, are with, like, the DK Vine community or not, but, like, I think it's kind of become, like, an in-joke there of me playing up, like, how much I hate DKC 3 and how horrible it is and stuff like that, and that's fun. But, I mean, we're doing that for laughs. I was very disappointed with Donkey Kong Country 3 when it came out. Like, I think it was a problem. It was the first time that I was ever that hyped for a game, and it let me down. So, I think that definitely, like, colored my opinion of it going forward. But as I said in the episode that I did on it, God, in 2015, like, at the end of the day, like, at its worst, I still think it's a well above average platformer. It just does a lot of things in the opposite direction of what I personally enjoy about the Donkey Kong Country series. But that's fine. I know a lot of people who love it because it emphasizes the things they like about it. But I do hate Kiddy Kong. That's not a joke. Oh, yeah, somebody said, isn't this the game from your other M video where you said the game looks like it's running on the Dreamcast GPU? Yes, it is! Good eye, I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, when I walked out into that field in other M, like, I was just so reminded of, like, the texture quality in PSO. I see somebody asking about, like, I played AM2R, did I check out other Metroid fan games or hacks? To the best of my memory, I haven't so far. I mean, I think after I did AM2R, like, I knew it was time then to go into Prime. And then, like, over last summer, I got super, super into Zero Mission. Like, I got a physical copy of Zero Mission, and then got really into, like, trying to run through it as fast as I could, and had a great time doing that. But I don't know. Since I finished up the, well, I mean, I played Samus Returns quite a few times. Oh yeah, I did play a ROM hack of the original Metroid to finish it the first time, and man, you would not believe the kind of, like, how many comments I get about that. Because, yeah, I used a ROM hack of Metroid 1 called Metroid Mother in order to finish the game. It gives you, like, a map screen, and it edits but it also changes a lot of the graphics to be, like, somewhat higher quality, to look a little bit more like they would eventually look. And, you know, I explained all that in the Metroid 1 episode. And I always structure my episodes assuming that people will probably watch them in order, but of course that's not the case. So while I was producing the episodes for Metroid 2, Super Metroid, and Metroid Fusion, the only footage I had of the original Metroid's ending was the one in that ROM hack, which of course looks very different. So, and then before I did Zero Mission, I went back and played all the way through the original Metroid without the ROM hack, so then I had footage of it. But I get so many comments asking, from people who, you know, obviously didn't watch the Metroid 1 episode, asking, hey, what's that version of Metroid? Why does it look so different? Which is fine. I don't mind it. It's just like, oh, look, another one of these. Any features from Super Nintendo Donkey Kong Country games you hope will eventually carry over into Returns? You mentioned Kong switching, and yeah, that would be great, but I mean, as I said in the episodes on it, I believe, the biggest thing for me would definitely be Animal Buddies. I wonder if I can use any other weapons yet. Yeah, I can use sabers now. Ouch. And I can get my ass kicked because I'm using sabers. Yeah, let's just go back to this. This is a lot better for being able to read the chat. In this game, I usually always played as a hunter, which meant that, you know, you had more short-range weaponry, which was always my favorite. This long-range stuff isn't as engaging because, you know, you basically just have to get away from the enemies. But it is a lot better for for being able to read the chat. See somebody asking what I thought of Sonic Forces. If you watch the 2017 wrap-up episode, I talk a bit about that one. Sonic Forces was the most disappointing game I played last year. It wasn't the worst, but it was the one that was the biggest letdown for me. Because I figured, you know, even if everything goes wrong, worst case scenario, at least we'll get some more fun, like, generation-style stages out of it. Like, if the stage design in Forces was 1/4 as good as it was in Generations, I still would have had a pretty good time with it. But it's just not. It's so... like, it's so linear. It's so... just hold down the yay button until you win. The game does such a good job of playing itself for you. Not to say that I know there are some speedrunning strats to it, but they're just not nearly as interesting or as much fun as the way that you could play Generations. If the guy who made AM2R remade Fusion, would you make a review on it? Yes, and I would let Kovar ruin the video again. No, definitely. I don't see him making another Metroid game unless he manages to like do what like Team Mania did for Sonic and like actually make an official like remake of Metroid. But I don't know that that's Nintendo style. But if he ever did, yes, I would absolutely play it. What was your favorite soundtrack on the Dreamcast? Oh, Sonic Adventure 1. Easy answer, being a big Sonic fan, but, like, I don't know if Shame is still in here, but me and him have talked about this. Like, Sonic Adventure 1 has probably my favorite Sonic soundtrack, period. Like, there's so much variety to it, there's so much depth to it. I love the music in that game. What's your favorite 3D Sonic game? Probably Generations. Like, it would come down to Adventure 1 or Generations, but a lot of the reason that I like Adventure 1 so much comes down to nostalgia. Not that, which is not to say that the reason I like Generations so much doesn't also come down to nostalgia. But that game just, that game just did it for me. Do you think a Sonic Metroidvania could work? Yeah, it's called Tails Adventure. Okay. Actually, that's another thing that I think is kind of interesting about Adventure 2. Is the way that, like, some of the upgrades you could get. Like, in the Pyramid level, you got the bounce bracelet. And then you could take that back to City Escape and unlock another, like, upgrade with that. So, I think there was some potential there. And admittedly, the upgrade you got was the totally useless Magic Hands upgrade. So, I think there was something going on with Sonic Adventure 2 where they had some very ambitious ideas that didn't really get followed through on. But you still see, like, remnants of them there. Somebody says, so you do like Sonic Adventure 1? Oh yeah, I have a lot of affection for that game. Somebody's talking about how the next video is spoiled because I said I liked Adventure 1 more than Adventure 2. And yeah, I do. I can just say that right off. But I think that Adventure 2 is a very, very interesting game. And as of right now, I'm not even quite sure how I'm going to portray how I feel about it. Because, like, I have so many, like, mixed feelings about it in general. There's a part of me that absolutely loves it, and there's a part of me that, like, doesn't. And that's really hard to explain. But I'm sure I'll find the words. I'm sure I'll find the way to explain it. Somebody asks, what are your thoughts on Nintendo Labo? That's kind of funny. I actually, back when Nintendo Labo was announced, I pre-ordered the set. And I got it on the day it came out, on April 20th. And then I just now returned it today, unopened. It seems so interesting. I think I would have a blast with it. But I also think I would, like, get it out and put it together and have a really good time with it one time and then probably never touch it again. And I also feel like it's unlikely to become something that's, like, really rare or hard to come by. I think by the time, like, Black Friday rolls around, we'll see some really good discounts on it. So I'll probably pick it up again then. It's just, like, it's that shipping box that it came in sat unopened for a month. So I was like, you know... Let's see... Somebody's arguing everything important about Sonic Adventure 1 is better in Sonic Adventure 2. Sonic Adventure 2 is inarguably a much more polished game. And I think that's caused it to hold up a lot better over the years. Like, one thing that I talk a lot about in relation to this era is, like, the progress that 3D graphics made. You know, going from Metal Gear Solid to Shenmue, for example. But also the way that 3D games portrayed themselves came a long way in a short time. So, what was acceptable and what was even, like, impressive when Sonic Adventure 1 came out in Japan in 1998, like, things had come along so much further by the time Sonic Adventure 2 came out in 2001. Somebody's talking about Sega bass fishing on PC. I actually don't know if the port how the port for that one holds up. The only time I ever played that game was on the demo disc that came with the Dreamcast. Somebody said, who is the character you most want to see in Smash 5? My answer to this has been the same for a long time. I don't think it's going to happen. But I would love to see an Ice Climber style pairing of classic Sonic and classic Tails. Like, if I could put any character in, that's who I'd go with. Second to that would be, and this is a lot more likely to happen, I think, would be K. Rool. I mean, Dixie Kong would be great too, but I think K. Rool would be the more interesting fighter overall. So I'd rather see him. Plus, you know, the Donkey Kong series, not only is it lacking representation, it's also lacking a villain. And K. Rool, you know, has worn so many different hats, literally. He could have some really cool weapons. I would also really like to have Snake back. Oh, favorite gameplay in Sonic Adventure 1 was Sonic, obviously. Let's see. Thank you, Blade Blur. Said amazing work on the Sega video. One of my favorite Tropical Freeze levels is Wingding. Benjamin Woodring is here. Everybody give a very warm thank you to Benjamin Woodring. He was the person who sponsored the Dreamcast episode all the way back in 2015. I mean, I would have done a video on the Dreamcast at some point, probably, but he is the reason the video exists. So thanks again, Ben. King K, I would love to see your video on Sonic Adventure 2, actually. I think... I believe that you're friends with Exo Paradigm Gamer. I think I would love to see that, sort of in a similar way, although I actually like Sonic Adventure 2 a lot more than this. Exo Paradigm Gamer made an excellent video singing the praises of Super Mario Sunshine. Which is, like, man, that... of all the Mario games, that is by far my least favorite. It just never worked for me. I never could get a lot of enjoyment out of it. So, for him to, like, you know, he was somebody who grew up with the game. He was somebody who really loves it. And so to be able to see, like, his perspective on it was so fun. Was so much fun. It was so eye-opening. Like, that is one of... I always try to portray, like, my opinions in that kind of way when I'm doing an episode. I try not to come across in a way that I'm saying that somebody else is wrong for disagreeing with me, but my goal with the Dreamcast episode especially was to sort of be like, okay, like, I know that people never played this, a lot of people never, like, experienced this, but here's what it was like at the time, and that isn't meant to undermine whatever anybody else's experiences were with it. I'm just trying to give you my perspective. so that people can understand, like, that doesn't mean that I'm trying to convince people that the Dreamcast should be their favorite console too, but I want people to understand why it's mine. And so Exo Paradigm Gamer's Mario Sunshine video always stands out to me as, like, a great example of a case where I could watch a video where somebody made a video and so, like, nicely explain their opinions and explain why they felt the way they did, that by the end of it, even though my mind wasn't changed, even though I still didn't think that I was going to go play Sunshine and magically have a good time with it, I understood why the game does have such, ardent fans, and why there are people for whom, like, Sunshine was their favorite Mario game. And he really, really gave me that kind of perspective. Ah. Sorry, my throat's starting to hurt. I've been going for a while. Whew. Actually gonna go grab this water. I see somebody asking if I'm going to cover the other Metroid games, and yes, definitely. Specifically, like the spin-offs, like Hunters, Pinball, Federation Force. Yeah, I definitely want to do those. I always am hesitant to do too many, like, of the same series in a row. Like, I don't want to get shoehorned into doing just one thing. Like, I know that a lot of people found me because of Metroid. And coming off of the 2D Metroid series, like, I really wanted to play Prime anyway. I like having, like, experienced that whole series. Like, having become a fan of Metroid thanks to the 2D games, I really wanted to give another shot to all the 3D games. So yeah, I don't know. I've thought maybe I could cover, like, the other Metroid games maybe around the time Prime 4 comes out, and, like, do a build-up to... usually I do retrospectives, but doing a Geek Critique episode on Prime 4 when it's new? But that's just a thought. I mean, I can't say for sure that... I mean, we don't even know when Prime 4 is going to come out at the moment. But I'm expecting to finally see, like, some gameplay footage and find out some more details about it at E3 in about a month, so that's going to be a blast. Somebody's asking, what about Sonic Shuffle? Oh, what about Sonic Shuffle? Actually, funny story about Sonic Shuffle in relation to the Dreamcast episode. And this is something that you'll know if you follow me on Twitter. There was a morning a couple of weeks ago where I played Sonic Shuffle for 2 hours, and it was miserable. And the reason for it was I forgot... So Sonic Shuffle is like a Mario Party-style Sonic game. It was actually developed by the same company that does Mario Party, oddly enough. But it's not very good. The loading times are really bad. It's a really weird game. It almost feels like they were designing a different, like, board party game with a new IP, and then, like, they made a deal with Sega. But what I forgot about was that in order to clear a board, you have to, like, collect 12 imaginary stones, which are like the Mario Party equivalent of stars. Or not 12, sorry, 7. Still, the point is, between the loading times and the waiting for the computer AI to get done with their turn, and actually getting to all the stars, imaginary stones, it took over 2 hours, but I couldn't leave it because I knew that I felt like I had gotten into this sunk cost fallacy where I'd spent so much time on it that I just wanted to finish it. So I ended up with more footage of Sonic Shuffle than anything else in the Dreamcast episode. And then the only thing I used from that in the episode was the little bit of the Sonic Shuffle intro near the end. When you see that sort of cartoony-looking footage of Sonic, like, running after, like, a playing card, that's Sonic Shuffle. And that's the only footage I used from that entire session. And it was not worth it. I would enjoy Sonic Shuffle with other real people, but it was not fun to play by myself for 2 hours. Precious stones! Thank you, Cody. Not imaginary stones. Anyway, I think I'll probably wrap the stream up when I either kill or lose to the dragon boss. So that's probably about 10 to 15 minutes away. Oh, I've spent so much time fighting that dragon boss. Let's see, I got a good question here. Do you practice personal speedruns for Metroid games like you do for DK and Sonic? Yeah, actually, I was talking about that earlier, but you might not have been in here. Over the summer, I got really, really into like playing through Zero Mission over and over again, and seeing how much I could get away with, and how few items I could get, and how just really trying to learn that game inside and out, and it was a lot of fun. I think I beat it in about 45 minutes at one point. I think. If that sounds absurd, let me know. But I think my best time was somewhere around there. Other than Zero Mission, though, no, I haven't, like, gone through any of the Metroid games with the sole intention of getting through them as fast as possible. I think one thing, and I've said this before, so if you've heard this before, I don't think I've said it in a video, but I've noticed that, like, I think Super Metroid is a really great game, like, as an experience. Like, I think that it's probably my favorite Metroid game to play through once in a while. I think it has this really cohesive adventure, and it's a really good example of, like, everything that a Metroid game should try to be. But I think that Zero Mission is my favorite Metroid game just to pick up and play, and I think it has a lot of strength in the fact that it came out, you know, at a time when the Metroid speedrunning community had been established, and that it could sort of take advantage and play to that. Like, you can tell it was very, very, even more so than with Super Metroid, you can tell that it was intentionally designed with the ability to do that in mind. Somebody says, does the Geek Critique have a Discord server? No, but I've thought about starting one up. Most of my social media presence is on Twitter, though. So, like, I post, like, all kinds of, like, behind-the-scenes stuff, and talking about how things are going with episodes, and all kinds of stuff on Twitter. So, I know not everybody is a Twitter person, but if you want to stay up to date on what's going on with the Geek Critique, that's probably the best place to follow me. Somebody says, is Phantasy Star Online any good offline? Well, I mean, since I'm not playing with anybody, the experience that you're seeing here is basically what you would get offline. I would say probably not. If you're only going to play it offline, there's really not a whole lot to keep you coming back. The community experience is what made PSO. That said, there's no reason that you should have to play it offline. There's a version of the game called Phantasy Star Online Blue Burst for PC, and of course, I mean, it could run on a potato at this point, it's so old. But there are still a couple hundred people. Like, even in the middle of the night, I can go on there and there will be, like, 50-some people on. So if you're interested in getting into PSO, that's what I would recommend looking into. And I specifically play on, I think it's called the Ultima server. And the Ultima server is also nice because it gives you, like, a big XP boost, so you don't have to go through all this grinding quite so bad. You don't have to play through the forest 12 times to level up enough to get to the caves. And also, I'm out of monomate, so I need to go get some more. Yeah, King K, I saw you talking about limiting your Twitter use, and if that's that's clearly something that's made you a lot happier. So I'm very happy that you've done that. I don't find Twitter negatively impacting me. I actually really enjoy it, but nothing wrong with getting off of social media if you feel like it's something that's become a more negative experience for you. Okay. I don't know if I'm actually going to be high enough level to fight the dragon at the end here, but we'll see. By the way, I know a lot of you might not have been here a while ago. If you have PSO and you want to come into this game, it's on the main server, the 00 server. Can't remember what it's called, but the game name is Geek and the password is Critique. You know, I guess I shouldn't have put a password on it. That would have made it way more likely I might have actually gotten somebody else in here. But oh well. What do you think about Daytona USA, and does DreamPie have support for 2001? No, it doesn't, unfortunately. Daytona USA 2001, I mean, aside from trying the arcade version a few times, that's actually the only Daytona game that I've ever, owned myself. I understand that it's not considered to be nearly as good. I think DF Retro did an episode on it, and by the way, if you guys don't watch DF Retro, watch DF Retro. I love that series. But I understand that the Dreamcast Daytona game isn't considered to be all that great, but I had a good time with it. I liked putting the rolling start theme in the Dreamcast episode. Do you play games to cheer you up when you're feeling down? If so, which games do you play? I don't generally feel too down about things these days. But I guess the first thing that comes to mind when I hear that question, when I was a teenager dealing with teenager things, I remember I would come home from school sometimes and I would play Sonic 2 because I was so familiar with that game. I knew it like the back of my hand. So it was a really good game for me to just sit there and play and meditate on things and try to think things through, because it kind of gave me something to do and concentrate on, and I guess if I did want to play a game that if I was feeling down and I wanted a game to try to cheer me up, right now I'd probably pick Rhythm Heaven. I have just recently really gotten hardcore into that series, and I'm really mad at myself for not trying it out sooner. I'd always heard great things about Rhythm Heaven, but the thing that would have pushed me over the edge that somehow I just missed all these years was that it's done by the same team that did WarioWare. So, yeah. It really, really, really appeals to me. And they're a lot of fun. My favorite game so far, I'm still working my way through the series, but I love the one from the Wii version of Rhythm Heaven. Ooh, I have a simple mail message. Somebody's messaged me. How about that? Anyway, what I was saying is I love the wrestler game. The Wubba Dubba Dub. Is that true? Huh. Alright. I hope somebody hasn't said anything bad. Ah. Well, I don't know who this is, but yeah, go for it. We might actually be able to take down the dragon together. If you didn't hear what I said earlier, the password... I assume you're watching this stream. You might not be. But the, Actually, how did you send me mail without being able to have my guild card? This might be like a server administrator or something. Anyway, the password is critique, but I don't know if you know that or not. Okay, if they don't join soon, then I'm going to respond and tell them what the password is. But that's got to be somebody watching the stream. They shouldn't be able to mail me without like having my guild card information. So that may be somebody who like is a higher level like admin on the server or something, and I just let myself get killed because I was talking too much. Whoa, you go, big guy! My Dreamcast review of Sonic Pocket Adventure. Oh yeah, that was a fun one. The Sonic Pocket Adventure episode was like one of the easiest episodes I ever made. Like I was working on I think it just came to me one night that I wanted to do like an April Fool's Day episode. And as soon as it came to me, like the whole episode just popped into my head right there, and I wrote the entire thing in one session. Going on and on about the clicky stick. I said I was gonna stream until I beat the dragon. Okay, let me just go ahead and respond to this guy. And plug in my keyboard to do it. Alright. Yeah, I have no idea who that is. Oh, yeah, I don't have my weapon anymore. What was I doing? Okay. So I don't have any... When you die in the original version of PSO, you drop all the money you're holding and the weapon you have equipped. But people were very nice in this game. People would typically... If they picked up your weapon, they were just holding it for you until you got back. I don't remember ever having any problems with anybody, like, stealing anything from me. Which probably wouldn't be the case in an online game now. Sonic the Comic was fucking weird, yep. Somebody said they didn't forgive Sony until the PS3 came out. Man, I don't know. I still have to watch myself to this day. Like, I've owned every single PlayStation console there's ever been. It's not like I can say that I haven't been fair to Sony, but I still have to watch myself sometimes. Not to be like, oh, that freaking Sony again. There they go. Gotta check myself for a little touch of anti-Sony bias. But hey, nowadays whenever I think of that, I'm just like, hey, they gave Yu Suzuki the platform to bring Shenmue back after all this time. I think they've made enough reparations. I see somebody asking about Ori and the Blind Forest. Yeah, in the wake of the Metroid series, a lot of people have recommended to me other, like, Metroidvania-style games. Castlevania, obviously, being one of them. I said this in the FAQ video, but I definitely like to do, like, a season on the Castlevania games. I think it would be interesting, especially to sort of... I mean, much like with Metroid, Castlevania is a series that I'm familiar with, but I've never actually played that much of or gotten that into. I think it would especially be interesting to, like, experience the series, like, evolution from being, you know, very action-heavy games on the NES, very difficult action-heavy games on the NES, to being more Metroid-style games. Via choice search in the guild card menu? I didn't even know you could do that. I don't think I ever used that. I vaguely remember it. Ah, yeah. Okay, so this is just somebody who's found me in the game. That's amazing. All right. I like how I said I'd probably be at the dragon in about 10 to 15 minutes. But I forgot how much harder Forest 2 gets. It's gotta be a bot. Oh, yeah, that was always a big problem, those Phantasy Star Online farming bots. Actually, it was very easy to cheat in this game, because your save file in PSO is saved locally, like on your VMU. So there was absolutely nothing to stop you from using like a code breaker and making yourself whatever weapons you wanted to, and then getting online with them. It did have quite a cheating problem, which was cool for a little bit. Like, it was cool when somebody would just come into a server. Oh god, I'm gonna die again. I'm surrounded. It was fun when somebody would come into a server and just drop all kinds of, like, really, 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 like, powerful items. But then it would kind of ruin the game, because now there was like, nothing to aspire to anymore. By the way, if you look at the map up in the corner, the enemies don't react to me as long as I'm not on the other side of that green line. Like, they can't hit me here. So, I mean, when you're by yourself especially, you kind of have to, like... When you're lower level by yourself, you kind of have to exploit that. Although these guys just are not moving away from the door, that's annoying. Somebody said, are you using the Dreamcast keyboard? Yes, I have 2 Dreamcast keyboards. Actually, I think I have 3. I don't know where the third one is right now. But the footage in the episode where you see 2 people playing Typing of the Dead together, that's the reason. That's the reason I have 2, that is. I don't really know why I have 3. I don't remember how I ended up with 3. That's a thing you could do. I assume you're talking about Typing of the Dead, since that's what I just said, although I don't know what the delay is like. But yeah, you could play multiplayer Typing of the Dead. But I'm just about to get to the end of the Forest 2 here. Once I clear this room, you go through there, you transport up. Hey, there's Magix. Oh, somebody said, what you said about the community experience for PSO is what I feel about Destiny. Yeah, you know, I didn't get, like, super duper into Destiny or anything, but I don't think that any online games, like, since PSO has given me as much of a vibe as this one did. Or as Destiny did. Like, it reminded me a lot of PSO in a lot of ways. I have no idea if this guy's watching the stream now. But that's awesome that somebody just used the search function to find somebody. I'd totally forgotten you could even do that. Hello, Magix! Yeah, I guess you just heard what I said. That's amazing. So, if you don't know me, I guess you don't. I just did a, earlier this week I released this retrospective video on the Dreamcast and about my experiences with it. And now this is the follow-up stream to that. So yeah, when you messaged me, I thought for sure you were, you were somebody, and I don't know if I accepted your guild card. When you messaged me, I thought for sure you were going to be somebody, like, from the stream, because I kept saying, if anybody has a Dream Pie and wants to join me. And let's see, did I get your card? Yeah, I did. Cool. Anyway, yeah, I'm in Forest 2, as you can see. Getting near the end of it, I'll give you a telepipe. Oh, crap. I'm out of practice in typing and playing at the same time. I haven't had to do that in a long time. Nowadays, when my friends and I play PSO Blue Burst, we get on Discord server together. which makes sense. Well, you're quite a bit higher level than me, so I don't think we'll have trouble getting by the dragon now. I was actually planning on going ahead and ending the stream after the dragon, so before I do that, I'm going... Oh, heck yeah. Before I do that, though, I'm definitely going to, like, you know, field one last set of questions. So if I've missed your question through the whole thing, be prepared, because I'll I'll open up the floor one more time before I go. And now I've put a telepipe here in the in the middle of the battlefield. Okay, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this by myself very easily. This is another case where I had to cheese the enemies by running out of the room and firing at them. I might be able to come find him. Somebody's asking how far apart are the episodes released to the public after being released on Patreon. The way that works is on the Patreon. I upload the episodes like as I get them done, but I don't start releasing episodes of a season. The Dreamcast episode isn't part of a season, so it's not subject to this. But I don't start releasing episodes on YouTube until I'm done with all of the episodes I plan to do for a season. And the reason for that is that way I can release them out once a week, which makes YouTube's algorithms happy. Like, I wish that I didn't have to do it like that, but when I started doing it like that with the Metroid season, it's what actually made things like... It's what actually made my channel successful, basically. Because by releasing, like, steady content over a period of time, you'll do so much better than just releasing it, like, intermittently. Although that's just one part of it. I mean, I'm sure that, like, the way that I did the Metroid series and the fact that I started actually naming my episodes something and getting better thumbnails also helped. But that was always one thing. Somebody said, what would you say your most played console generation is? That, probably just due to the length of time since it's been out, that's probably... Well, I don't know, because my most played game was one that came out in 2007, so I'm sure that would unfairly... But okay, I feel like my most played system is probably the N64. Ooh, this bush is talking to me. Oh, I died because I was looking at the chat. I'm glad I put that pipe down. Somebody says, what are your thoughts on Echo the Dolphin? The only two that I've played much of are the Dreamcast Echo and the sequel to the original game on the Sega CD. And I really liked both of them. That said, they were very, very, very difficult, and they remain very, very difficult, and I admittedly have never gotten too far into them. Oh, he's there. Yeah, he took damage. Okay. Recently got a Dreamcast. Any recommendations for it, whether it be games or modding related? Okay, so if you're playing on a modern television, you'll definitely want to get some sort of a VGA cable and adapter. The Dreamcast is capable of outputting a lot nicer video than the other contemporary consoles of its time, but you have to have a special VGA cable for it. So that would be a big one. As far as games, other than the things that I highlighted in the episode, I would say that, I mean, it depends on what genre you like, obviously. Good old PSO chat. Man, this would be a, not that you could stream games back then, but if you could, this would have been a poor one to do it with. Because you would have to constantly stop and type. Yeah, I dropped my money, but I had no idea how much I had, and it's not a big deal. The most efficient way to get money in this game was just to, pick up random items and then go sell them. Which would just happen naturally as you played through stages anyway. I just picked up that dagger, but this class that I'm playing can never use those. But I can still pick them up and sell them. The sound on my DC is really muffled. That's weird. Yeah, there's some really, really good, video converters that are specifically made for the Dreamcast. I haven't tried those out, but I've heard good things about them. They are pretty expensive, but as far as I know, they're worth getting if you can afford it. I've got mine... Oh, more people. I wonder who this is. I've got mine running through a VGA cable and then into a VGA to HDMI converter. Back in the day, I had keybind set up so I could easily say things like hi. You could assign the function keys to type specific things. The footage I used in the episode of what it was of the Dreamcast lobbies were from somebody, and I asked him if I could use these because I thought it was just so freaking cool. He actually recorded VHS footage. Oh god, we have a level 63 in here now. This isn't going to take any time at all. Oh yeah, I already went here. As you progress through the game, do the enemies become more varied and less generic? Yeah, they definitely do. I've been here in the forest a long time because I'm so low level. I guess I should probably play Blue Burst sometime because I have a much higher level character there. I could get through things a lot faster. What you've seen me fighting over and over again through pretty much the entire time I'm doing this is just the enemies in the first level. But every level has its own set of enemies that become more interesting and do more things and have their own properly thematic motifs as you go along. It's just that because this character is very, very low level, because I don't play the PSO version of, or the Dreamcast version of PSO too much. That's why it's taken me so long to get here, and just because I'm by myself. This game is always a lot quicker. That actually looks a lot like my character. Well, he's wearing the same clothes. See somebody asking, have you played Freedom Planet? Oh, we activated it with just 2 people on it. That's good. Alright, so Freedom Planet. Yeah, Freedom Planet is one of those mini games that you get as a Steam user where you get it and you're like, heck yeah, I can't wait to play this, and then you have trouble getting around to it. It's another one of those that's been on my bucket list for a long time, but I'm sure I'm gonna enjoy it whenever I get there. I actually remember when that game started life as like a Sonic fan game. I remember the creator of it posting on Sonic Retro a long time ago, showing it off. And I think it's really awesome that he's found so much success with it. It's Red Eye's Black Dragon, yeah. Do they exhibit better AI later instead of meandering like zombies? Yeah, somewhat. Especially in the last level, I remember there are enemies that are just like really, really fast and will lock onto you, and you kind of have to like be aware of that and dodge them. There's like more enemies that'll like do magical, like do status effects on you and stuff like that. But as I said earlier, it's not like Phantasy Star Online was never like a super deep game. It was the community aspect that really made it worthwhile. But I did always feel like how easy it was to just kind of pick up and play was to its strength. Ooh, a mono fluid. And then also as you progress through, it's like right now I'm in normal mode, but then you unlock at level 20 you can go in, you can make hard mode games. So I mean it gets more complicated and the enemies get a lot better as you climb the ranks. And I'm gonna guild card all these guys. Alright, yeah, no, just just communicating to other people like this is a blast from the past. Having to type things in online games. Yeah, you know, you're right, I really do probably need to pick up PSO again, or PSO 2 again sometime. Alright, so somebody says this game is emulatable on PC. Technically it probably is, but you don't need to. There's a port. Actually, the best, if you're interested in trying Phantasy Star Online, I said this a while ago, but I know more people might have shown up. The best way to do that is via the PC version of the game called Phantasy Star Online Blue Burst. It was the last version of the original PSO released. It has all the same content from the Dreamcast version, from the GameCube version, and new content unique to it. And of course, it's very, very easy to set up. There are fan-made servers for it. It's a super quick download. It's so old that it could run on a potato. And yeah, the reason this character is so low level is because nowadays, when my friends and I play PSO, we're playing on Blue Burst. So if you're interested in trying the game, that's where I'd recommend you go. Anyway, okay, I'm gonna open the floor up to one last round of questions. If there's anything I missed, state it now. But I gotta say, this has been a blast. This has been a lot of fun. I've always wanted to do like a post-episode stream and provide some commentary and play some games and chat with you guys. And I've had a really good time doing it. I'm glad I finally made time for it. So, looking... If anybody else wants to ask me something, go for it now. Oh, and thank you, I don't know if this person's even still in here anymore. This is a while ago. But thank you to As Pooped by Anakin Skywalker and to Kyler for the donations. I didn't even know you could make donations through YouTube. So that was a pleasant surprise. Alright, I got one. Oh, I'll just thank you, DJ Luigi J. Luigi. Thanks for the kind words. Jobel, oh, were you one of the people who was just in here? Yeah, no, I joined your Dreamcast Discord server. Message me on Twitter, I guess, or just put the link in there, I don't care. Somebody says, have you ever played Earthbound, and if so, how did you like it? You might have heard me talk earlier about, like, how much I appreciated Exoparadigm Gamer's perspective on Mario Sunshine. Earthbound was never a game that I, like, picked up and was like, oh, I don't like this, I'm not having a good time with this, and then I had my eyes open, because it was a JRPG and it was going to be difficult for me to get into it anyway. But I love the aesthetic of Earthbound, and I love the idea of what it is. But every time I've tried to play it myself, I've always just kind of flamed out pretty quick and not had a lot of incentive to go back to it. But I love watching, like, retrospectives on it. I love the incredible amount of enthusiasm that the Earthbound community has. And a lot of people are posting things. I need to scroll up a little bit. I want to go in order. The best way to play PSO is with dial-up for maximum nostalgia. Let's see. Somebody said if an indie creator offered you a free copy of their game in exchange for a review and some coverage, would you do it? Unless it was something that I was interested in making a video on anyway, I doubt it. Like, I have been, like, presented with offers to that extent before, but the thing about my videos is, in order to do them right, they take a very, very long time to do. I'm kind of a perfectionist about them. So to just, I try not to make disposable content. I try not to make something where it's like, you're gonna watch it for a reason, you want to know if this game's worth playing, so you watch it, and then you're done with it. I try to make something with, like, a lot of, that's a little more evergreen and has more staying power, but that means that it takes a long time to do this stuff. So, unless it was something that I was interested in doing a video on in any way, I doubt that I would do that. Oh man, every time I try to scroll the chat up, it comes back down again. Pirate Kong says, just want to say thank you for all you do. You're probably the big influence for my style of delivery and the way I script videos. Hope to make things half as decent as you in the future. well, dude, thank you again for saving the PS2 rant. And, I mean, the only thing you can do is keep at it. Like, for a long, long time, I felt like every video that I made was my best one. Because I was, you'll improve by leaps and bounds as you get the hang of this stuff. I did see this question earlier. Can you do a series on Bayonetta since 3 is coming out soon? Yeah, that's another example of a series that's been on my bucket list for a long time that would be really good. I feel like there's a lot of games where I would really enjoy them if I would sit down and dedicate myself to them. And Bayonetta definitely falls into that camp. And doing it for the channel would be a great incentive for me to do that. Somebody says, favorite Sonic hack. First one that springs to mind is Robotnik's Revenge. The boss rush, the Sonic 1 and 2 boss rush. Spent a lot of time playing that one. Easy, I mean, it's not... it doesn't do much, but what it does, it executes so well. RPG Gamer, if you are true to your name, I'm sure you'll enjoy PSO. Like I said, let me know. He says your DMs aren't open on Twitter. Well, I mean, just at me on Twitter. That'll be fine too. Please do more PSO streams in the future. Yeah, I think I will. Doing Blue Burst would be fun, and if I did Blue Burst, I could show off a lot more of the game than just the forest. Do you plan to do more Q&A streams like this? Yeah, definitely. It's always... Every time I release an episode, I always think to myself, now here in a few days, while the episode is still fresh, I ought to do a stream for it so I can talk about it. If you guys missed it at the very beginning of the stream, I played the footage of the episode and talked over it and gave some behind the scenes stuff on it and talked about the production of it. So if you weren't around then, you might want to go check that out. I'm glad that somebody enjoyed my Let's Play of Sonic Mania the day that game came out, because I was very, very excited. Somebody asks, what do you think improved your sub numbers the most? I don't think it was any one thing. I think the regular video schedule helped. I think the fact that I figured out how to make more, appealing thumbnails helped. But I can't say, it's hard to say for sure, what pushed it over the edge, but I'm really happy it happened. I remember the day that, I passed 10,000 subscribers should have been a really cool day, but I was actually a little bit salty about it, because I'm like, I've been doing this for almost 3 years, and I've made all these videos, and I'm only at 10,000 now, and then very shortly after that was when, kind of the... I finished pushing the metaphorical boulder to the top of the hill, and everything since then has been, my channel grew. I had 10,000 subscribers, and then I had 30,000 subscribers, and I'm like, whoa, okay, something's actually changed here. Cody asks about doing retrospective videos. You're not gonna offend me by copying my style. I mean, I'm sure that on some level there's plenty of people that I'm copying to a degree in my stuff too. It's there's as long as you're offering your own opinions and you're not just quoting what somebody else is saying, I don't think that anybody has a copyright on a certain style. Is this video still going to be up once the stream is over? Typically, I don't like to gunk up the main channel with too much content like this. I like it to keep it to my main videos. But if I don't leave it up, I'll definitely make it unlisted and post a link on Twitter. I think that'd be okay. But we'll see. What is your favorite JRPG? Super Mario RPG. Or Pokemon. Or Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow. One of those. Somebody says, where could I find your initial playthrough of Sonic Mania? Yeah, that's one of those where, what I was just saying, it's an unlisted video on my main channel, because I'm really weird about, like, wanting my main channel to portray, like, what my show is about. So, but if there's interest, I could also post that link on Twitter after the stream's over. But anyway, yeah, this has been a lot of fun. There will be more, probably with guests. I know, if you guys remember the DK wrap-up episodes I did with Chad and Heil, I've talked to Chad in the past about coming on for, like, a Donkey Kong stream where we could go through that series, and I think it'd be good to, like, have... It's a lot easier to do these when I have somebody to read the chat for me, for one thing. But thank you guys for coming. It's been really, really fun. Thanks for all the kind words. And until next time... That line break is bad, but oh well. Good night, everybody!